Welcome to the church of Cali High. Cali High. Cali High. Yo!
Welcome to Cali High, episode 69, Brett in the Backyard. This week, Cali High, in conjunction with the Future Cannabis Project, sit down with Brett Feldman of WonderBrett for a backyard discussion about origins of strains and the various crosses and progenitors of the now famous WonderBrett varieties, such as Pink Picasso and Orange Sunset. We also talk about long-forgotten buds of the San Fernando Valley. I ask Brett about his outdoor grow in Santa Barbara and how that's going, as well as out-of-state collaborations with WonderBrett. Lastly, we look into birdseed genetics, WonderBrett's new seed line. Stay tuned for this highly informative talk. Also in the yard for this discussion are Peter Cervieri, founder of the Future Cannabis Project, and Gabe, cannabis sommelier extraordinaire, and Shakespeare of cannabis reviews for FCP, as well as myself, Cenzo Nico. Stay tuned.
All right, so Cenzo, we're in the valley. We're in your casa, your backyard.
We are in the backyard here at
We got airplanes
coming over. We're in a flight path, but
military aircraft patrolling.
Oh, yeah, that's
all the backyard grows.
that's Joe Biden's C-5A flies in his H-1 in there. Now, of course, we have the land of Formaggio in the back here. And we have Brett Feldman of WonderBrett today. Brett, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great.
We're gonna double mic you. So Brett, what are we rolling right now?
I'm rolling some Pink Picasso right now.
And what is the Pink Picasso?
Pink Picasso is OZ Kush crossed with Candyland.
Very cool.
And Candyland is made up of Granddaddy Perp and the original Cookies Cut. So like two of very iconic great strains make up Candyland. Candyland was like one of my favorite cookies type genetics that were around in the early 2010, 2014 kind of space around there. So crossing the OZK male into that, I didn't know what I was going to get, but Pink Picasso is a special strain. It's
very cool. Now I'm super excited to try it. It has a reputation that precedes it. So the Candyland, is that from one of the Cookie Fam guys originally, or?
No, it was like somebody just in the Bay bred it.
Fire.
But it was definitely like a notable strain during that time because everybody was really looking for the form cut cookies and then to have that crossed in a GDP, the Granddaddy Perp.
Well, and it came right on the cookies came on the crest of the Perps thing.
Yeah.
So it made a lot of sense, and maybe there's even Perps in the cherry pie. Who knows?
Yeah, totally.
And let's not discount the GDP.
Yeah, no, GDP is a great strain.
It's awesome. I mean, Urkel, I think, is as good as this plant can get. Personally.
Yeah.
Which all used to be known as the Purple Nepal.
Does anyone else want to dry hit this?
Yeah.
I love your Pink Picasso, by the way.
Yeah, it's a crowd favorite. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of the things that we created where I was just like, wow, I think we created something really special, and it was unique. It's really unique. Like the terpene profile on it is different than a lot of other strains.
It's cool. You get that little bit of candy from the Z, but you still really get that smooth cooks.
Yeah.
Perps. It's nice. And so the OZK seems like a staple throughout a lot of your work. I think definitely the first time I tried anything for you was probably 2018 on the rec market, and was OZK. It was fire. Really, honestly, some of the best quality I've seen on metric.
Awesome.
But so why the OZK? Why is that one that you've...
Well, it has the OG in it, which was what I grew for probably 20. Well, from now to when I started, it's over 20 years. You get that later. But OG's just always been a great strain,
straight up.
And I think it'll always be one of the best strains that were ever discovered and found and created. And then Skittles came on, and you're like, wow, what a really, really special terpene profile. when I saw it, it was just little. When I first saw it, it was just little tiny buds. It was like you couldn't. At least from when I first started getting it, it was like you couldn't find like good nugs of it or.
Well, I think the good nugs is a lot of the 2.0. It's like a back cross work. I think if you have that first real cut, like Cooks, you're getting pebbles. And
Yeah,
we're grateful to have those.
So we were all like pretty blown away with the terpene profile on the Skittles.
What year was that?
That was when, let's see, I would say 2017 when I think I first stumbled across it, maybe and I was looking for it, and I bought a bunch of it because I was like, well, maybe I'll find a bag seed, and I did find a bag seed. I started to pop that bag seed, and then like 2 months later, a buddy from Humboldt actually gave me the cut.
Oh, wow.
So I got the original cut, and I had a bag seed cut.
I don't know if it was 17 or 16, but a lot of people got introduced to it at an Emerald Cup, or like Dying Breed had a booth, and people were, like you said, just buying ounces, hoping to get like one bag seed.
Yeah.
Because it was so wildly different and tasty.
Yeah, it was crazy. The lines were long, and you would buy an eighth, and you'd pour it out, and it would just be like literally like a tin of Smalls or a plastic quarter of Smalls. Like
Gnarly little nuggies.
Yeah, they were hella tasty though. For like, I was like not impressed look wise, but as soon as you kind of started to break it up and smell it, you'd be like, oh, this is special. And then as soon as you tasted it, you're like, yeah, this tastes like Fruit Loops and candy and Skittles, and you understand why they called it Skittles because it was.
Yeah. So what did you do with that first cut of Skittles? And you had also the OZK, which came from the original Kush.
Yeah, so the OZK came like about a year later when they released the seed packs of the Eddie Lep OG crossed with Skittles.
Oh, so your OZK is from Dying Breed.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was released at this like double weekend like High Times event, and they were releasing it, and then their trailer got broken into, and a lot of their seeds got stolen at the hotel. Then like the night before everything was getting released, I remember we were all like setting up everything. I was setting up my booth, they were setting up their booth. We were right across like the courtyard from each other that they had set up, and I was like talking to the guys, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll have everything. I'll put aside some packs for you tomorrow." And I was like, "Cool." I wasn't worried about it because they said they set it aside. And then all that stuff happened that night, and I didn't get any packs from them because it all got stolen, and it was really just like a shitty deal, a shitty story for them.
I can only imagine how depressed they were. Like,
so those seeds are very dear, I guess.
Yeah, those
are not.
I don't know what happened
seeds
to all those seeds that got stolen or where they went, because I feel like whoever stole it, like I never heard about those seeds popping up on the black market. Like, I feel like whoever stole it didn't know what they stole, and just kind of probably were like, "This is worthless," and like just probably threw all that
seeds.
Yeah, just probably like threw all that shit aside, had no idea what it was, and got rid of it.
Maybe the packaging was opaque and they thought it was weed or something.
Who knows? I mean, we were all out in the middle of nowhere out there at Glen Helen, wherever that is, Beaumont or San Bernardino, somewhere over there.
The fairgrounds or whatever, right?
And so before you got the Z, were you just growing OG? Is that how it
I was
went?
growing OG for since '98, and then in like 2006, 2007, I started doing my own breeding because I loved OG, but I was getting tired of the strain because it was just, you can't smoke the same shit forever. And
I feel like if there is one, it would be OG, but I agree with you.
and it still got you high no matter what. Like, even if you had like a crazy tolerance for OG, you still got stoned off of it, which was what was so special about it. It was like, whereas other strains, if you smoked that whatever it was for like a few weeks, like you were just not getting stoned off of it.
Well, also I feel like that's what's not to go back to the OZK, but that's the real benefit of that cross too. It can really ring your bell. Whereas Z, unless you take it just way too long for it to be delicious, you're not gonna get that high.
I agree, and that was why it was so special, because OG potency and the Skittles terps, I was blessed to get a seed pack of that about 2 weeks after the event. It was this guy.
Yeah.
It was a guy from CES. He was hanging out with the guys from Dying Breed, and they gave him 2 packs of seeds when they were at the hotel. So CES Solutions was a extraction company back in the day.
Okay.
Somewhere local around here, and the guy.
And they were just like blasting BHO.
They were
at that
they were
time? Yeah.
Like
mostly
everyone was, right?
Yeah, like rosin was just kind of getting starting. Like I was hanging out at Professor Siff's house, and they were pressing fresh flower, like fresh press flower, where.
And that's how he got his start, right? He was didn't he work at somewhere else in the valley, and he was just
hospitality.
making flower rosin, and then
Yeah.
where that's taken him.
Brett gets
Yeah.
the Redwoods cup.
Thank you, brother.
You get the turtle cup.
And so I was hanging out at his house, and I had brought him some of my strawberry bubble gum to press, and the guy from CS was hanging out there, and I was telling him how bummed I was. I was telling him the story about how I was looking forward to getting that OZK, and dude was like, yeah, I think I got 2 packs of that from them the night before all that stuff got stolen. And he went to his house, and he's like, yeah, I think they're in my kitchen drawer. And so I followed him home, and he was like, we went to his house, and he opened up his kitchen drawer. He had 2 packs. He just gave me one. He was like, bro, you're a really good grower here. This doesn't belong in my hands. He was like, I'm not going to be able to grow this out. So he blessed me with that pack. And
that's awesome.
it was just kind of like destiny that I ended up with it still in the end. And I found, out of that pack, there was only 12 seeds in there. I only popped half the pack of seeds. I still have the original half pack of that.
Oh, wow.
And I found what is that OZK cut that is like the pinnacle definitive OZK cut that everybody loves. That's that perfect blend of Skittles and OG that has the potency of OG and the terps of OZK.
Were all the seeds consistent?
No.
Yeah.
No, there was like 2 other females that were contenders, but they were leaning more OG and not leaning as much Skittles. And then there was the 2 males I think that I got out of it as well. I think I popped 6 of the seeds. I think only 5 of them popped.
Did anything have any color, or was it all just green weed?
No, it has color if
Yeah.
you can you can shock it with some cold. It'll put a little bit of purple in there for sure.
Hell yeah.
But purple wasn't a thing at the time like it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
Like purple weed is desirable really right now.
What year was that again?
Early 90s?
no, we're talking 2017.
Yeah,
right?
2017, probably 2018 at that point. If you look on my Instagram, I post and show all the stuff of like even when I was popping those packs of seeds.
Yeah.
When I found the bag seed a few months before that.
How long have you had your Instagram?
Since 2000, I think 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And if you go all the way back, it goes back that far.
Wow.
And it's nice to have like this record timeline.
Absolutely.
Well,
to be able
for
to
the
show
recent
that.
stuff. But then everything before that, the forums are useful. But I think one thing I wanted to ask about is like, what do you think OG Kush is? I know there's a lot of stories, and you're pretty associated with at least sort of it's come up in California.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got the cut, everybody said, this cut came from Florida.
Yeah,
It used to be potentially called the Crippy or Super Knot. Was kind of like some of the rumors were going around when I first got the strain, like, during that first year or 2 of growing it. But everything, there's been guys who talked about it being like from California or NorCal. Like, I don't really believe any of that. I think it really did come from Florida.
But did you get the cut from a guy who got the cut from Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it from Josh's friend, and he lived in the Bay, and
It
that's.
seems like there's consensus among a lot of people that like it can't. Like Josh got it via
Matt
people
Bubba
like
Burger.
Shirk or whatever. Like Matt and yeah.
As far as I know from talking with Josh and all the updated stories that have came out, like, which I believe, Josh, he's reputable. There's no reason to, and everybody backs him up around it too. So, and Matt Bubba Burger as well.
You remember the Irene?
Yeah. And the Irene
Being
is
from the valley, you must remember.
I
that.
Yeah.
have some Irene.
Yeah.
a buddy of mine. So the Irene OG was actually my OG, and my buddy Cody. Shout out to Kodiak. If you know Kodiak around the valley, he's been a guy been around for a long
Yeah,
time.
don't know.
Wait, why do I associate it with Rude Boy?
I have no idea.
Okay, sorry.
But
yeah.
Kodiak was.
Yeah.
I brought him a batch of my OG that I grew and a batch that a buddy of mine, Kirk, had grown, and we just both had 2 small spots, and I would take some of his work, he would take some of my work, whatever we needed to. And they were both really great batches, but Cody was like, we're going to call this one Irene and we're going to call this one Larry. And so you had Larry OG and Irene OG both named in front of me that day. Were just renames of the original cut.
Oh, wow.
And there weren't anything different about it. Now, maybe once those names caught on over time, like other growers were like, I'm going to call my shit Irene, and I'll have the Larry OG or whatever, or something like that.
Yeah. But I remember the Irene from way back.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how far back though? Because that to me is like,
I would say, let me see.
like 2004 or something. 2005 is when I think that kind of happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I remember it from like 80s.
Yeah, no, I think there may be a different Irene.
Might just be a
That's the one I was
recycled-
thinking
Well,
of.
there's like maybe
Recycled
the
name
Irene,
that-
like,
Organic Irene.
Yeah.
But the Irene,
Can-
like
80s, I was
Coast
still
works
just
with
like playing with G.I.
Irene
Joe.
and,
Anybody remember
Coastal.
Barefoot Mike?
No.
Probably not. Right?
This might be
He was the
research
connect
that.
for the Irene.
That's
Shout out to
fire.
Mike.
And was
So-
it
so
a Kush? Was it
all
an
of-
OG Kush? The Irene you're talking about, was it an OG Kush type?
It was. That's what I mentioned it. Why I mentioned it, because it was very similar to OG before OG.
Interesting.
I could see that being a possibility. I mean, things move around the world and things get recycled and renamed.
Oh yeah, and then, if something came from Florida, there's a good chance it could have been Colombian related. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or
because
just-
all the Colombian came in through Florida.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that come with their Florida story about, talking about OG before Josh brought it here with Bubba, they would say, it was like, Thai and Afghan or something crossed, or like.
Oh, I heard you talking about the tie and looking for a real cat. I found a guy with the real
the
tie.
chocolate tie.
Yeah.
You do have the
With the
real
real
tie. That's
No, this guy speaks Thai too. I
it's the
speak
guy
Thai.
you
He
met
spoke
in
Thai.
the
We met.
grocery store.
Yeah,
right?
you smoked it, right?
Oh, I smoked it.
Yeah.
I would love to get that cut.
Supposedly he's coming down and he's going to give me the seeds, but he's been a little sketchy. Andrew, if you're watching somewhere, come on down. We're waiting for you. I called him this morning. His
Cenzo
phone's not
offers
taking
water
messages.
and weed.
Yeah, and maybe
Yeah.
more.
That's right.
Maybe
And
we
me-
can have
Good
some
music,
Kalnio
good
Mamuam.
conversation.
Some hacky sack. So you're rolling
That's
up the
Yeah.
the cherry
And we'll play
Kush
hacky
Cola.
sack.
I grabbed a jar of this actually off you at our homie Pele Polari sesh. I have a show on FCP.
Yeah.
And Brian came on a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. I
That's
feel
dope.
like this jar was like a hot commodity. I maybe got like one of 2 that you had on it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting terp. Do you want to talk about what this is?
Yeah, so this is cherry cookies from Relentless Genetics. I got a pack of seeds from him,
Yeah.
and I didn't really find any
Oh, you
great.
should try this. Have you tried that?
Uh-uh.
You'll be very pleased.
They released a new, the 2.0 today.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. This type of grinder.
Yeah, the mill.
Yeah,
I like the hemp shredders, but
yeah. Let's see how this works. But the cherry cookie was the pack of seeds that I got the
Good
mail
thing
out
I
of
cleaned it.
from Relentless.
from Relentless.
Right, and what is
Also
the cherry
cleaned the bong.
cookies?
So if you're watching now, you look at the bong and notice how clean it is.
It's like fire cookies. He had this.
And who cleaned that?
So what was crazy is
Me.
I would be seeing him on Instagram posting all the time, and he had always post this. I think it was called fire cookies or fire cherry cookies,
Yeah.
and it looked just amazing. And I didn't know that he was selling the seed packs. Like, it just didn't click or something, and until like a year or 2 after like me following him. And maybe he wasn't selling the seed packs at that point when I started following him, and it just kind of he started that line or something. But that's where I got the cherry cookie mail from.
And do you know what the cherry in that is?
again, I have to look at
Yeah,
his
but
like
it's
charts.
something, yeah, cool.
But it's that I'm sure Relentless. He's pretty meticulous about his like family tree breakout. Like.
Yeah.
So that was where I got that, and I used the mail from the cherry cookie pack, and it might have been like an F2 pack or an F3 pack as well. And I used that mail into the OZK, and found this, what was the keeper pheno of that, which is the Kush Cola, which I didn't want to put the word cherry in the title because I just feel like cherry would have turned people into thinking that it was like a LCG cross or something.
For sure.
Because LCG is, the lemon cherry gelato is so popular right now in certain circles, and has been for a while. So I didn't want to put the word cherry in the title, even though it could have easily been called like Cherry Kush Cola or something like that. But I just went with Kush Cola, and then let people read the description.
Very cool.
And let them see that, like, oh yeah, this does have cherry in it, and
it could have been a cherry cola.
Yeah, it honestly tastes like one of my favorite sodas is the Virgil's Wild Cherry Cola, and that's what it tastes like.
Oh
to
wow!
me.
Yeah.
So this is like one of my favorite creations.
And do you do all the artwork, don't you? Are you the artist on all these?
Me and a good friend of mine, Eric
Is this what
Luhan.
you're rolling up now?
Yeah, and his Instagram is ZXU. And he and I made every logo for WonderBrett since inception. Like the first logo was the W, and then the pineapple, and then we went to like the orange, and the orange sunset was their first original orange.
I love your orange sunset. That was so orangey. It was the first time I'd ever tasted anything orange.
Yeah, it's different than the Tangy because it had the OZK crossed into
orangey.
it, and it was a cross of Banana Split.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, so Banana Split from DNA Genetics is where I got. I found this, it was crazy because the weed, the weed
smells good.
The weed tastes like the weed tastes like straight oranges when I got it, but it smelled like bananas when you smelled it. It was like the first time it's still the only time I've ever been like, wow, this terpene, this shit smells like flowery bananas.
Really fruity.
Like really, really floral banana.
Non-mistakable.
Yeah, and then but as soon as you light it up and smoke it, you'd be like, this shit tastes super orange.
But you said it's different than like a Tangy or a Trop, so in what way does it hit the palate differently?
The Orange Sunset really tastes probably like orange Sunkist soda.
Oh, cool.
Like mandarin orange, like really sweet too, because of that Skittles in there.
Because the OZK was the receiver?
The OZK was the male.
Oh, was the donor. So you've used the OZK as the
On
donor and the receiver.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because when I used the male, I was still early on in the breeding education, because people weren't really talking about breeding, and I don't know, maybe they were, and I was just not in the right circle.
Yeah.
But people everybody was clone chasing constantly. Like there wasn't a lot of seed popping or pheno hunting. Like
It smells good.
Also, I wasn't paying attention, but I feel like I've come to realize that that's really also a super intensely Southern California thing, to be like, fuck the seeds, fuck hunting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get the elites, and I'm gonna run the elites, and I'm gonna have packs of elites.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's nice.
it is very much that type of scenario going on right now, and it has been for a long time. Like there are people that love the weed for the sake of growing it, and there's people that like making money.
Straight up.
And so they're just the people I think that are chasing that are really just chasing the money, and they're just going to jump from one bandwagon of strains to the next, like whatever. And I get it. Listen, growing weed can be very expensive. The learning curve to figuring it out, and then the cost of where you do it, how you do it.
Well, putting it on metric.
That's what
like
my
you
wife's
do.
been telling me.
Yeah. I mean, even growing it at mass
Are you
scale.
about to talk about your love with metric? Is that where this
No.
conversation is going?
No.
It's just
No, I'm just saying that's another cost
totally.
Yeah.
input that you have.
You know what I would, Brett, as a teacher, I would love for you to tell how weed helps you focus and how it did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always had ADD and dyslexia, kind of not a great student, and they put me on some of, once they kind of diagnosed me, they were like, hey, we should give you Ritalin, and I took this Ritalin stuff, and Dexedrine is one of the other ones too. It's basically like
Speed.
Yeah, like methamphetamine, speed, whatever.
Right.
Like,
we used to snort Ritalin late at night.
yeah, I didn't
college.
realize what it really was when they gave it to me, because I'm like, oh, doctors are giving it to me, and I was like in like 9th, 10th grade, and I didn't really.
And that was so common.
Yeah, actually, no, it was much younger than that. I was actually like in like
Yeah,
seventh.
there was a
I was
kid
like
in
in
my
like
high school
like
who
6th,
was,
7th grade actually.
Middle
he was
school.
the very
Yeah.
first kid to ever that. There were basically whispers that he was on some super drug that made him like study bionically, because all he would do was sit in the library and read like physics textbooks, chemistry textbooks, and we'd all be like, "How does he do it?"
Yeah, definitely like what I remember realizing, it kept me up a lot at night, and I would just be like, it was crazy because I didn't really like to geek out on like computers or reading. Like, we had just got a computer for the first time in our house. It was like one of those early Macintosh, and I was like, I'd play with it for like 20 minutes and video games here or there, but mostly I would just stay up at night and just like make artwork.
Yeah.
Like.
And when did you make the transition to?
Not on a computer too, like freehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
Like
is
pastel
before
paintings.
you kind of discovered weed.
Yeah, this is like right when I started to discover weed, like at
Uh-huh.
the same time, and
Weed and fun activities like learning how to play the guitar and
Yeah.
dancing and
I didn't realize like until I got enough weed access to it, like
Mm-hmm.
what it was how it was
Enjoy
really
that for a second.
like it helping me, in
Yeah.
that sense of
And so then you, at some point, you just ceased taking chemicals.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I don't want to take these, like
That rocks.
yeah, I was just getting like a better level of like comfortability and focus, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And what were like the early insights? Like, did you notice certain strains affect you certain way, certain time of days made sense for smoking? Like, what were your early learnings around the plant as medicine for you?
Well, the weed, that's what I think why it took me so long to really kind of just hone in on it, because it was like, you got such random shit,
Straight up.
right? Like in like the mid 90s, like early 90s, you would get like an ounce of,
Oh, that just boomerang? Nice.
yeah, you would get like an ounce of like stress, like seeded weed, from south of the border or something like that, or wherever it came from, and it would be like $80, $100 for an ounce, and you'd be de-seeding all day and trying to learn how to. That was when I was just like sit there with my cousin Eric, and we would just try to learn how to roll joints all day. We'd buy an ounce of weed like that, and we would just try to practice rolling. 'Cause we were just enamored with
So
like.
we also just speaking of that, like all the growers I know roll like this, no filter,
Yeah.
just straight up weed on the tray.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, do you want to talk about like how you like your joints and like
Yeah, I
why
basically-
no filter? I guess.
No filter, because the second you put these like little pieces of paper right near your mouth like that, like, and you're breathing over it, I can taste it.
Yeah.
Now, some people maybe can't, but
do
I'm
you
kind
use
of
the glass tips ever?
I do like the glass tips, but they're kind of a pain in the ass to keep clean and have a fresh one all the time. And like if I had started smoking weed like 2 years ago, and that's how I got introduced to weed, was with a glass tip and all that kind of stuff, then maybe that's how I'd be stuck on it. But I learned how to roll joints where you roll them properly, and you don't.
Well, yeah, no, this is my favorite way to smoke if it's rolled well, because
Yeah.
when it's not, you're like sucking.
Yeah, you're getting
plant
bits.
Yeah.
None of us we smoked
Right.
2-3 joints already. None of us
I
has
have
been
not-
taking bits out of our mouth or
Exactly.
anything
And
like
I
that.
appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like you just have to know how to roll it with confidence that
Well,
it's.
you do the little tuck at the end. That's
Yeah, that's why whatever it is, the technique is described as. It's just knowing that you're not rolling it too tight and you're not rolling it too loose. It's like you've got it tight enough with confidence where you're like, this will be the right draw, and that just comes with rolling like for years. After a time, some people just don't take the
I've
effort
been rolling
to learn.
for a long time.
Yeah, some people just learn on that roller that Zigzag made.
No, my brother
the
taught
two
me.
little wheels, with the piece of fabric, and like
Shout out to Chris.
You know, I'm like,
Or cones.
people are masters of that thing, but I never really messed with it. You know?
No.
Like, I always just rolled them myself.
Yep. I've been rolling since I was like 12. My brother was a master. He taught me how. And that's
awesome.
a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned from this like one kid in high school. He was like, you do it like this, you press it all down, you fold it, you know, pinch it down,
Yeah.
get it
You know.
situated. And he was like, you can, from here, he's like, I can move it around without even rolling it and then roll it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I'm like,
And I like the no filter thing too. And you know, after our last interview, I started rolling no filter, but then I thought to myself, well, am I wasting these? This would have been a whole summer's worth of stash, you know, the little roaches, you know. And so I don't know. Sometimes they're old to filter, I must say.
yeah.
But I think it's best not to. Maybe
Yeah, for
just
me,
for economic purposes.
I prefer, if there's going to be a filter, it'd be a glass one. And, you know, if it's a nice, clean one, it's great. You know, like, shout out to Be Real for, I think, putting that on the map.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw it was there. And then they made the funky field tips. And those little glass tips made it so that you could actually roll out a piece of bubble hash and wrap it around it and use hash as a paper for the first time. That was, like, the first time we ever did that. Like,
Those
giggle
are crazy where
sticks.
people get the bottles and they...
Yeah.
The French
But
I
method.
don't know if those are... I feel like those are wasteful. I've never smoked one. I was like, that was an economical use of really
What?
good hash. I've heard them called pixie sticks. They're a bunch of different names, but where you actually create a paper out of
Out of the
pressed
hash.
dry sift.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
wasteful, I must admit.
Yeah, no, you do it with
Extravagant.
a group
Yeah.
of like 18 guys.
Yeah.
Like we were all at the studio and they were doing their first like podcast shows like this. It
Yeah.
was on these like platforms. I can't remember what they were called, but it doesn't matter. It's not. I don't even think it exists anymore. The platform, but it was like one of the very first ones where people could go on and like broadcast streaming.
Periscope or some crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those early ones, and maybe another one that still was around at that time too. But we had a bunch of guys in the studio because we were at Be Real Studio, and I'd always wanted to try it, and then B had those glass tips. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen them, like they were using them, rolling them for
And
joints.
you're friends with Be Real.
Yeah. For a long time now. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Sometimes I just, have to bust out my Cypress
You
Hill.
first met him in like '99 or something, or
Yeah, right around there.
ballpark.
It was 99 or 2000, right around there. Like,
But no, I remember like '92. It was either '92 or '93. Like being 16 in high school, listening to Cypress Hill. I have a lot of good early youth memories with Cypress Hill.
yeah, like
Some of my early days of teaching.
when I went to Granada Hills High School for 10th grade in the Valley here, and that was where like really it was like there were three major bands at that time that were dominating. It was Cypress Hill, Tool, and Rage Against the Machine. Like that was on rotation pretty much in everybody's car I got into. It was like
And,
one
like,
of those.
What year was this?
This is like 93 maybe.
So like early.
94?
Tool,
Yeah,
early,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Cypress Hill more than Tool and Rage Against the
I
Me
turned
too.
21 at a
Let's
Tool
hear it
concert.
for
It was
Cypress
all about
Hill.
the bass, dude. It was
bump some right in there.
people would get the
Soundtrack
big
right now.
kicker speaker in the back of their like Ford Explorers. It was just all about the bass. But actually, to go back to finishing your question, so we started with Stress, and then I started getting introduced to like Indo, is what everybody was calling it, for like these like $50 8s that were amazing from Humboldt. And that's when I kind of realized when I got enough of that I was like, oh, this weed is like way better than this medication they're giving me. And I didn't like the feeling of the medication anymore because I was able to identify it.
Yeah. I remember Indo. I'm like, does that mean it's indica, indoor, indica? What the hell?
Yeah, it was a.
Yeah.
Just
That's
a
what
lot
people
of-
would say. People would say that it's both. It's indoor grown, so it's Indo,
Yeah.
and they would say this is indica as well.
And what is this?
It's more of the cherry.
Yeah.
The cherry's
The
really
Criscola.
nice. There's,
Yeah, it's very.
You get a good combination
Deep.
of
The
like
flavor
Cooks
lasts
and
long.
Kush, and you get the little cherry, a little Z. It's just,
Yeah.
it's good.
Hey, let me ask an outdoor grower question. what have you learned from growing outdoors in Santa Barbara?
Well, I never ran those farms,
You know?
but I've definitely studied the guys that do it.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm there and ask
Yeah.
a lot of questions, and
Anything
there's
come out of that?
Yeah,
As
for
fa-
sure.
As far as like,
There's great knowledge there.
Yeah.
You know, like if you know when you've planted 10, 20 acres of canopy or something like that, or even 5 to 10 or whatever, it's a massive canopy. It's you don't work the crop the same way. It's all preparation in the field before you plant to have a great outcome. You've got to prep the land really well.
Got to grade
Right.
the land.
Yeah, grade it, set it up, get your irrigation in right, get your holes dug, get get everything ready properly for planting and fertilized if you're going to fertilize.
what do we fertilize with?
Yeah, what's that?
What do we fertilize with?
They were just using just a base out there.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the bags were called on it. It was
Yeah.
just some basic ag stuff.
Yeah.
There was nothing like nothing
No
special
organic,
yeah. It was all being grown for concentrate.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what is the function of outdoor within WonderBrett? So it's for concentrate and then edibles too, or?
Yeah, we would use the same for that too.
Very cool.
And how do the
It's
terps
the
compare?
best way to create frozen,
Yeah.
economically. Trying to grow frozen in a indoor grow,
Is there a
Wild.
market? So there's no market for the outdoor flower.
there is, but
Peter is just sitting there foaming at the mouth in anger.
Sadness.
no, there's a great demand for outdoor flower from guys like that yourself that that'd love to get great batches of that.
Have you smoked both of the same strain?
Yeah.
And how did they compare?
The outdoor was incredible when it was fresh.
Right.
And it had a nice freshness for a few months.
No, outdoors can be great. Sorry.
Yeah,
Peter's
no,
giving me a
outdoor.
dirty look.
It was literally incredible.
No, I was gonna pass this one to you.
It was literally incredible.
And I saw that you still had one.
Like,
Did you see higher terpene numbers in the test
saw it.
notes?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like,
In the outdoor.
yeah. When we grew, noticeably, the orange banana is always been one of our highest washing yield strains. Like, it's hit above 7 in washes, and
That's nice.
it's an incredible genetic.
Is most of your concentrate ice water or?
Yeah, now everything is basically when you see dabbable concentrates from us, it's all rosin.
When you have a guy like Brian come up, yeah. Do you want to tell that story? I mean, he's a friend to the show.
Yeah, no,
In a
Brian.
big way.
Let me just finish the orange banana story.
Yeah, please.
I'm
'Cause
glad
this is
someone
the-
can remember what
This is
show we were
the
on.
this is
I'm
the
like, what were we
ADD.
talking
I've
about?
gotten
Right?
better at this
You're
over
good.
the
Okay.
years.
I'm
So
admiring you.
You should
You're
be a
keeping us on
producer, honestly, with your ability to do that. But yeah, so the orange banana outdoor.
Yeah, so that was the wait for the plane.
Yeah.
That was
Thanks
the
to Van
first
Nuys
time we
Airport
paused
for
the
having
plane.
training
Yeah.
flights over my house.
damn government.
Yeah.
No, definitely the banana OG and the orange banana were the ones where it was wow. The difference is that with outdoors, you have these massive fields, right? And the sun and all this nature, and the plant just becomes hardy and it's in its natural in state where it wants to be. So it can express, I think, higher terpene notes of certain markers that
Right.
just don't become
More flavorful.
that don't come out. Indoor it might just look like this, right? These certain ones hit their higher numbers, the myrcene or luminols or whatever, limonene, and I don't think luminol is a thing actually.
I was just thinking. I was like, I don't think so.
Some other one.
Yeah.
I like.
But
I think
there are a
that's the
couple
purple.
of
one. I think
Limonene?
that's the
Are
one
we
I
thinking
like.
limonene?
And then there's terpenoline, the bad one, the feel bad one.
Yeah.
The haze one.
Yeah. So
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just check.
yeah,
things.
that's when I noticed. I was like, okay, our orange banana indoor tastes delicious. It's really good, but the orange banana in the outdoor field, when I was able to take some of it when it was fresh, and they had a space where they were able to dry it where it was air conditioned instead of just being in that's the problem with outdoor. You have these massive fields and they don't have any drying facilities. So it
Right.
all just kind of gets
It's
hung
also
in
kind of the problem with the licensing structure, and it's really hard for these guys to have the field to just
I
build
suggest
out
brown
processing.
bags.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's a whole other license you have to acquire. I think that it gets back, not to cut you off, but I think that if regulations made it easier for guys to execute. The guys have the talent and know how to build the shit out.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause
Colombians
they just don't have the ability to dry it and cure it on large scale. So that's
Yeah.
why so much outdoor kind of just comes out like the way it does.
Colombians would bale theirs in brown paper bag paper, large 25-pound
Yeah.
bricks in the paper. You know what I mean? And the paper I cure in when I'm tired of like trimming and cure. I just stick the rest of the weed in brown bags.
Huh.
I still have some brown bag weed that's actually pretty good from last year.
I know people who put, big brown bags in totes to
Whoa.
get after you've sort of done your dry for the first stage of the
It also
cure.
kind of leaches the chlorophyll,
Who knows?
not completely
Yeah.
or quickly, but it cures it well.
Interesting. I've never seen
Yeah.
that. Never
Yep.
seen that. Yeah, when it was the orange banana though versus the outdoor and the indoor, the outdoor just like every good part of the indoor that I love from it was just exacerbated in the outdoor.
Is that orange jar orange banana?
I don't think it is. I believe this jar is Northern Lights number 5, the original.
Oh, so that's cool
Let's
that you have the
smoke-
NL5.
Yeah, this
Let's
is the
smoke
original.
that.
Yeah, I'll roll this up too. That's the original cut.
We'll go old school.
Whoa, that rules. That rules.
That still smells good too.
Yeah, right.
Surprising.
Yeah, Peter.
That's my own strain called the Formaggio.
Okay.
Azzurro.
Oh, sorry.
So what are the other two that you brought? I guess I feel like we're late enough in the show that we should ask.
Anyway, brown bag.
I think these. I have to open to look.
And
Okay, so this is more Kush Cola in here actually. I think
That's
I just
more Kush Cola.
yeah, this jar actually. I think I just filled it because I needed a jar to fill up, and then this one I think is the purple papaya runs.
what is the weight of each of these jars?
Can we
Like
roll this?
a quarter,
These are actually 1 ounce jars.
1 ounce jars.
Yeah.
How cool!
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun designing these and making the paint can look and
Yeah,
the soda
they look-
can look and the
They look like cans of
I've
paint.
seen other people bite the can almost
Yeah.
immediately after you guys roll
yeah,
that
I
one
saw
out.
that too. I was like, I don't mind it. I'm like, I'll take it as a compliment.
Imitation is the greatest
Sincerest
form of flattery.
I heard that there's like
Yeah.
a second clause that's a part of that quote.
Oh, yeah.
There is a whole
The
second
finishing
half
of like
quote.
the
It's
bitter
like-
part.
But
Yeah, it's like when you sneeze,
Sort
God
of-
bless you, but the
yeah.
second part is, and may the devil miss you.
So what's the purple papaya runs?
That is runs crossed with papaya.
Oh, okay. Straight
Super
up.
straight up like it was just literally like, okay, this is, Runts is very popular as well as the LCG, and we didn't do a lot of stuff. We've been very stubborn in the sense of like making our own strains and our own menu and having everything be very different from everybody else's.
How about this? What would you grow different if you didn't have to cater to the rec market in California and you could sell around the country to people who appreciate what you would want to grow?
That's a great question.
I think it's really about just growing good quality.
Mm-hmm.
It is of whatever strain it really is.
But would you grow some like longer flowering, uglier looking
Yeah,
stuff?
like if economically we can make sense of it too. Like the industry is California is in a tough state right now. Like prices are totally changed. The cost of operating, the taxes, like the economy is not in a great state either. Like a lot of people aren't spending money on flower as much as they were. There was a lot of excess money running around when the pandemic was going, and before that too, the economy was stronger before the pandemic started, I think, as well. So people were spending more, and now there's just a very the black market has expanded because I think it was a great opportunity for them, to be
Yes, it has.
like the stores are 38% tax, the flour costs more, all this packaging, all this testing. People have been smoking weed and buying weed from their friends and having it brought to them while they're just hanging out on the couch. Like they don't have to go to
do
the
you know
store.
anyone like that?
I never met anyone like that.
They're mostly myths. They don't even exist
These
anymore.
mythical people.
Yes, They like leprechauns.
and that's just kind of a testament to what the weed market should probably be.
Yeah.
It should be so loose and lax that you can just sell it from your house. Maybe you should still have to have some testing on it, and testing can come down in pricing if it's on a larger scale, so that there's access to safe. Because the best thing about recreational weed was the fact that the testing, like at the very least. Now, whether the numbers are cooked on THC or not,
Yeah.
Well, like the heavy metal contents, like those things are
That's good.
important.
yeah, like pesticides and like that. Having clean weed was probably the best thing that came out of all of that, because everybody
but
was doing crazy shit before that.
The peak of happiness was pre-2018. So there
Because
you
you
had
like your
testing.
Eagle 20 terps.
No. You had a lot less. I mean, testing was going on.
Yeah.
From
But then you
2000
also had people could grow at home and get it into shops. Right?
Yeah, 2007 to 2012.
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of gray area. Like I was very skeptical of this is just some big
Measure D or
trap.
Prop D was
Yeah, Prop D.
2012.
I was like, they're just going to get everybody to give them their info and then come arrest them or something. So it was like, I never signed up for licenses
Yeah.
early on, and it was regrettable because the people that did got, grandfathered in. They actually were probably one of the very few groups that actually maybe
Yeah.
made money.
I was pre-ICO.
Yeah, made money during, the cannabis history over the past 20 years. They provided a good service, but it was a really gray area. I mean, you'd have shops that had phony paperwork. You had shops that maybe had real paperwork. These ones would get raided one day. This one would then just
Yeah, there was a
reopen.
federal agent going around raiding legal places and telling them they had 3 days to shut down.
Yeah, they were threatening, landlords that they would seize their property at one point if they, didn't evict the tenants.
Yeah, that too.
There was all types of,
All types of weird.
hurdles that cannabis has been thrown over the
Well, I think
years.
people being able to operate safely is another benefit of.
Totally, that's one of the things that attracted
things
me.
have changed. Yeah.
It's definitely one of the big things that attracted me. I was like, I'd been, you're just looking over your shoulder for so many years.
Uh-huh.
You're just like, I'm so
Now
tired
you don't
of
even
this.
have to look in the mirror anymore.
Yeah, now, now you're like, okay, we're doing everything we possibly can to be legal and operate, and you go home at night and feel comfortable and sleep and not be worried about some kind of legal problem.
Yep. I remember always looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Always. And that comes from earlier paranoia.
Definitely,
Probably
paranoia is
before
your
you
best
guys
friend.
were born.
Paranoia is your best friend. It keeps you out of trouble.
yeah.
No,
I never got popped for weed. Well, once. But, yeah.
It's definitely something. If you don't have
I
some
went to
sense of
diversion.
paranoia, keeping you safe, then man, I'm jealous.
I know. I still stress about shit I did, in college.
Yeah, and I think that's probably just because you're a good person.
Yeah.
People
No,
that.
but just thinking shit, you could have done serious time.
Oh yeah, you took
But
a lot of risks.
You did it.
Yeah, there's definitely drives
yeah.
that I went on into the Humboldt Hills where I was like, I could have definitely not came back.
We had car accidents on Route 93 in Boston. It was like a 7-car pileup.
Oh wow.
And me and my friend Ethan had pounds of weed in the back of his SUV, and my neck was completely thrown up. For weeks later, I was could barely move my neck, but we just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the cops were like, "You guys are okay. Your car doesn't look damaged. You can go." We were like, "Thank you."
Wow. Yeah, that blows.
Wow.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
weed, you got to take a lot of, sacrifices like that.
I flew back from Miami airport with 2 blue Samsonites filled with Colombian before they had dogs or
Yeah.
X-rays, and made it.
Lucky.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. I got it from Rick. I'm going to say the real story. Rick Hirschman, who was the original owner of Rick's Cafe in Negril, Jamaica. And I met him in 1975 in Negril, Jamaica at his bar on the west coast of the island. And we became friends. And then he called me the next year, and I flew to Miami to meet him.
That's sick.
I don't know where Rick is, but wherever you are, Rick, or if you're not with us anymore, R.I.P., buddy. Yep, yeah. Rick was a cool guy.
So that's the NL5?
Which is super. And so you're doing a lot of genetic work now and making seeds and selling seeds.
Yep.
But you're also doing archival type work and bringing out stuff like the NL5. So what's the future look like?
Hunting new stuff.
Yeah, creating new with old. Right now, I just pop seeds of my blueberry strain crossed with the NL. Cool. So I'm really I feel like these two terps can, complement each other in a unique way and create the NL is such a high
blueberry cross with NL.
No, it's just NL5, right?
This is NL5. Right
what is NL5?
The original cut of Northern Lights, number 5 from the early '90s.
Okay,
this was
I don't think I've ever even smoked
strains that I ever smoked in high school. That it was this was a branded strain at that point.
Epic.
The name, the strain had a name. People were going crazy for it. This was 10th grade for me, right?
Well, and I didn't realize that the numbers were different crosses. I thought that they were just different phenos, but I guess each NL is its own. The 1 is a different cross from the 2, from the 5, from the 10. They're all their own.
Yeah, and when I first got it here in the Valley, when I was going to Granada in 10th grade, it was actually Hawaiian NL. Hawaiian NL number 5 is what they called it. And now I don't know if someone put the Hawaiian name on it just for the sake of doing it, or was it really a Hawaiian NL cross at that point too?
Interesting.
I mean, I've heard that same story that other people were getting that.
I had some
that Hawaiian
amazing
NL at the
Hawaiian
same time
in the days. Hawaiian was just fire killer.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine that used to get it. We will not mention his name. And no 2 ounces were the same. They was all small little batch.
Yeah.
And all of it was unreal and fruity, limey. I remember some red buds as red as red.
Yeah.
Just like the old Colombian. But this was from Kauai, and it was fresh red.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing.
Yeah, that was, I think, one of the appeals to cannabis too. As you get into it, is all the different varieties.
Oh my God.
That are out there, and the stories of oh dude, there's this amazing strain, and you're when you're really enthusiastic about weed, it's like somebody saying to you, there's if you like pizza or oranges or some kind of food that you just love, right? And somebody tells you that there's this amazing place that has the best oranges or the best pizzas.
Mangoes.
Whatever it is, mangoes is whatever gets you going.
Mangoes and sticky rice.
Yeah, it's
but I feel it's super similar to coffee culture. It's super similar to wine culture.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of... The direction it's going is a path we've already gone down.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be there's a few lanes, right? There's the lane of the people that are breeding to just create biomass, right? That are we create these strains that are really vigorous, high yielders, and
numerics driven, high THC.
Yeah, all of the metrics based stuff, right? Where you're just it's
all the boxes.
Yeah, anybody can grow it, but it's does anybody really like it? A lot of times it can be done. I personally believe that my new version of the blueberry, which started with blueberry, my first Beyond Blueberry in 2015, that I crossed with the OZK male, became BZK. Then we crossed that with Cookies and Cream OZK male, went into that BZK to make the next version of the BZK 2.0, and
is this all written down on a chart?
Yeah, I should write it down on a chart.
Really? Yeah.
It might be in the WonderBrett
company history. Right?
Yeah, it might be in the company stuff. We have a pretty large Google Drive with everything we've created.
Yeah.
That rules.
So it's like I can go and look at it, but it's like it would take me a long time to try to find that. But I should write it down and just put it on the website like a lineage chart.
That'd be amazing.
Because it went from that cookies and cream OZK male, because when I did that first round with the male of the OZK, I was still early on in the breeding process, like I was saying. I only used that male once. I didn't think that I should keep this male as a cut a clone off of it and keep that male forever, because if I would have, everything that came from that was just epic from that male, right? Now, the things that came from that, I found really good males out of all of those things too, but that one male was very special. Like,
it's funny, a lot of people's one that got away is often a female, not a male. That's super cool.
Yeah. I've been pretty good at keeping the genetics. We haven't really lost anything.
Do you collect pollen?
No, I've never really kept the pollen. I just do the seeds. Pollen is like so small amount. It's hard to see it, and then you put it in the freezer. I mean, I tried once, and then I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And then like a year, there's no real like expert around there telling you how to handle pollen and freeze it properly.
Does it get frozen? I mean,
I think that's how you have to store it is you freeze it.
Yeah.
But like you stick it in a glass jar and freeze it is what I did, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you ever try to use it?
I did throw it on a plant. I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
You know, but the problem is it doesn't throw. It sticks to it's like static. It like just sticks to whatever it is.
Yes, it does. Side
know?
of the bag, whatever.
Yeah, so you kind of have to like take, like a brush or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and try to get it on there. And even I was like taking the jar and like swirling it on the, like on the like I was covering the whole plant with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I heard something about bees having the opposite charge of pollen, and which makes it stick to them or something like that.
Suck it up to their legs.
That makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
You know,
That's
they're
wild.
the masters of pollen.
We need more bees.
Yeah.
So when you're making your seeds, it sounds like you've almost exclusively talked about working with males and making regs, so you're not doing femmes or reversals?
No, I haven't done that yet. I do want to get into it for just certain preservation aspects to say, okay, here's a...
To lock something in.
Yeah, in that time and space of what it is, you know, like, not to lock it in for the sense of, oh, it's perfect, and there's no better this strain can get. Because I feel like you can always kind of, from what I've seen, I've been able to chase terpenes and move that terpene through multiple genetic processes and carry that terpene over into like 5-6 breeding projects later and get all the phenos that I want. So you get that perfect one, but it takes time. Like that's why I say our blueberry is one of those ones right now where after I did the OZK cookies and cream male into that, pheno hunted that, found the most blueberry one of that, and every one of those things I was talking about before, and then also crossed it into the GDP.
Oh, very
right.
cool.
So then that added like something else to it.
Oh, and the GDP is something you still hold?
I don't have it anymore because it just is a finicky plant. It really was, and it was just there was no demand to it, and I still have like original seed packs. So I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'll go for the seed pack again because the cut was weakened at that point, and there wasn't really a whole lot of tissue culture stuff. And tissue culture to me is still kind of on the fence whether it's good or bad.
So you're not doing tissue culture?
I have stuff backed up in tissue culture.
I was just wondering.
But stuff comes out of it after it just kind of changes your strain a little bit. Now, some strains, I think it does it to more than others, and other strains it doesn't affect as much.
So at what point are you going to be pheno hunting in the plant's growth?
Always pheno hunting. Always.
Even before it buds on the stem? Like, do you smell stems?
Oh, are you talking about like at what point do you start culling?
No, looking for like a special resiny, or pungency. I rub the stems before they flower.
In veg, always I'm rubbing them, trying to pick up notes even early on, and that was what was so unique about like the OZK when I was doing the OZK the first time.
There's no other way to do the male.
Well,
is there?
No. Well, you could
go for traits. As far as vigor. Yeah.
But I'd already been growing the Skittles before I got the seed pack, right? So
Right.
when I rub the Skittles stock, to me it has like a savory menthol type tone to it. Like there's something very like
Eucalyptus.
yeah, something there that I associate with menthol.
Yep.
And then when I was doing the pheno hunt on the OZK, even the keeper pheno that we had, like I think it was the OZK 3 was the one that we've kept forever and then the male, they both had crazy Skittles in the stock rub, just like how the Skittles did. So I had something I could A/B to, and compare, and those stood out. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, when you're breeding, you're going to rub the stalks. You're going to try to identify those crazy terps. But you're also, it's not the only thing.
No.
Sometimes it totally changes on you, or there's something that's just undetectable till it's finished.
Yep.
And then sometimes the vigor or the yield of something, you might make a cross like the OZK cookies and cream, like from what we did, and there are ones that were super terpy that wouldn't wash, right? Like how a very terpy strain can be. Is you want more of that sandy, dry resin.
Sort of more greasy.
Yeah, when it's greasy, it's great for BHO. When it's drier, it's for you want that for your rosin. Typically, is one of the signs of testing and looking at things, and that seems to have held up over the years as an approach, a philosophy to detect how things will turn out.
And I think it makes some intuitive sense. You're like heads that are less inclined to burst.
Yeah.
Are less inclined to burst.
Yeah. And then there's all the whole thing about how things are frozen and handled and processed without damaging all the heads too. But I think in an ideal world, like for washers and BHO guys, that you would want to keep like 2 of the top phenos that are really similar, but perform better. One performs better in BHO and one performs better in a solventless wash, and still actually put a ratio of one to the other together and get a blend. So it's like, yeah, you know what, this one only washes at like 1.5%, but it has a crazy terp profile on it. It's more terp. And this one is hitting your 5% and has a good terp profile too, but the two together will make something even better. In knowing that you're selecting phenos that taste the same. That they're very similar, that when they combine, they still don't, they just add to each other,
And how many runs from clone in are you making these decisions?
So typically, like, a lot of people that are breeding, or that are running from seed packs, they'll be buying tons of seed and just be planting outside, and they just have crazy varieties and doing big outdoor, or they'll buy like designer packs, like high-end packs, like I'm trying to create these, our bird seed line and have really unique genetics. But the way I do things is I grow up from the seed, the plant, I cut a clone off of it, or maybe 2 or 3 or whatever, then I throw that original seed away.
So you don't even flower out the top replant?
No.
Okay.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Your seeds are feminized?
What's that?
Are they feminized?
No.
Not feminized. Oh, wow.
No. And the reason I say it's a waste of time for me, now if you're in a big field, that one plant is going to perform really unique, and it's only going to perform that way that one time. After you cut the clone off of that, and you're like, you take that clone and you flower out that clone, it doesn't look and perform the same way. So if you're trying to take data that says, hey, this plant gets 3-6 ounces of plant or something like that, and it grows this way, like the seed versus the clone are going to be different.
Right.
So if you're looking to have something that's going to last a long time and not just run it once.
So you can actually be searching through the seeds for something interesting.
Yeah. So the
and
answer
so
is
it's
one.
that first run from clone, because I heard some people even try to say that things stable out.
They
over,
do.
Over more.
They
over
do
time,
stabilize. They
extended
stabilize out more over time.
Yeah.
That's why land races are very similar. Like, pretty much Thai used to be Thai, and it had the Thai smell and taste. It could be grown better or worse, but it was the same plant and flavor.
That's why it's like OG Kush was a perfect example of that type of test experiment on a large scale, because so many people eventually got the OG cut. We're all growing OG Kush. And you'd see it just look different from place to place because of everybody. Even though we're all growing it in the valley here, or in Hollywood, or Lancaster, or San Bernardino, it was like you could tell it was OG, but everybody's OG looked different just because of the microclimates of everybody's different room, the little differences of water.
When you mentioned it earlier, that's how so many of the different like phenos were birthed of OG. It was just like this batch was this way, so we're calling it this, and then this batch and it was all the same cut.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you had a legit cut, or a descendant of the legit cut, you know.
Well, then there were all the S1s.
Yeah, there was.
That are fire too, for sure.
Yeah, and then you had stuff that like DNA Genetics did with like Kosher Kush, I think, and
which is I love the kosher.
Yeah, those were all great strains. Like,
and so you brought up DNA a couple of times. Are they sort of like what breeders did you look up to, or did you?
Definitely DNA were the first that like I was maybe just at a different. There's these other seed companies out there that were around, like Mr. Nice, or I'm not East. I was on the East Coast, so I didn't see that, and I was maybe too young to see that in the '80s. And so when the '90s rolled around, that is what I saw. You know, DNA, and you know, maybe it was not even the '90s, and more it was maybe early 2000s even, because I didn't really start buying seeds so probably like after 2005. You know, it was like I would just find bag seeds.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, like, you know, when I got bubble gum, I bought enough bubble gum to where I found a really good bag seed of it, and it turned out just like bubble gum. I mean, that's one of the ones.
Usually it's
that I really regret ever letting
seed.
go.
What, the bubble gum?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I've popped a couple bubble gummy things from Bog, old seeds.
Yeah.
They just don't really want to live. But it's a cool terp.
Yeah, no.
I really like
sweet, powdery, you know, bubble gum. Like,
do some of your strains grow better outdoors than others? Or they're all
I would
about
say
the same?
I would say that almost like under the right conditions, right, with a healthy plant going outside, I feel like the outdoor is going to perform better terpene profile every time if it's a good year of weather.
Like the Southern California sun, as an example.
Yeah.
But what I was asking is like, have you seen a difference in how the plants grow from strain to strain?
Yeah, like each genetic is vastly different. Like our pink Picasso is slow in veg. Like you can get it to go faster by using a smaller cube. Like on indoor, like instead of vegging it in a 6, like if you veg it in a 2x4, it'll stretch and get a little bigger faster.
And is that just like it just has that from the Z?
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, and cookies as well wasn't like a fast.
Oh right, there's the Candyland in it.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, very cool.
So none of those were like vigorous, fast vegging plants. Whereas like if I do that with our, you know, using a smaller cube versus a bigger cube in veg will always result whatever strain to speed up a little bit and get a little bigger faster.
The more space you give it.
Yeah, it's like no, it's actually the smaller, and it's counterintuitive to basic logic, but I think it has to do with the dry downs in a 4-inch cube. Yeah, like a 4-inch, 2-inch by 4 or 4x4 cube. It can only hold so much water, and the plant actually uses what's kind of there. Whereas if you're in a 6, it's like this small little plant can't drink that whole cube, and nor does the cube like naturally perspire out enough water to like give it the right environment for like rapid growth early on as you put the clone in. It's like when you put a clone into a 6 or an 8 that's coming from a 1-inch cube, like you're gonna get a slower veg that first week until like the plant adapts to it, or it could be even 2 weeks depending if you're really overwatering, which is something you're going to run into potentially easier with a bigger cube and a smaller plant.
And so, and all of your stuff is grown in cubes?
Yeah, everything that we've ever grown is been for our indoor line.
Yeah.
Has been in Rockwell.
In Rockwell?
Yeah, and then if it's for our concentrates and our vape pens and stuff like that, it's come from outdoor.
Very cool. And then, yeah, I guess then. So
But
there's
there's no.
seeds.
But is there any flower from the outdoor?
No, I smoked all of it.
It is. It's like
It's-
the
it's
grower's
not safe for
treat
flower.
Yeah,
like,
it's
for
like
4 weeks.
I take a few ounces of it when we have it, and then it's
Yeah.
like the rest of it's gonna go into the freezer.
Yeah.
And
Well,
'cause-
back to my original question. Outdoor in Santa Barbara, which was the best growing strain? That was, I think, what I was trying to get at. Was there a best growing strain? Or
Yeah,
did they-
there's ones that perform pretty crazy, like our melon OG would just be like these, like half dome circles, and without even topping it or anything.
Just
I mean,
get spears.
yeah, it would just be made up of nothing but the spears shooting out of it.
Yeah,
It would-
yeah.
And it almost looked like somebody came in
And trimmed it for
shaped
you.
it into these half dome circles, like almost perfect half circles.
Yeah.
And they'd be maybe 5-6 feet wide.
And what is the melon OG?
Melon OG was from seed packs that were given to me by Karma Squad.
Oh right, yeah, the melon. They have
the melon.
Yeah,
and
that's
so I
super cool.
hunted like 2 packs of theirs, found a really good melon OG that was vigorous and it was a great washer too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
That's
bred
super
with that
cool.
to make washing strains as well too for the birdline seed.
That rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Karma stuff. Karma, every year, is still in vogue. Still the coolest.
Yeah,
It
no,
seems like.
he does, really good projects. They're large scale, and they take their time because they have all that ability there. So that's what it helps a lot too. Like if you are working with very modest means, you have to be very selective about what you're doing. And if you're working with mass scale, you can be like, yeah, you know what, we can do, 30 to 100 different tests, right? If you have the infrastructure to support it all.
Yes, we all dream of that.
It would be nice. So
Careful what
is it,
you wish for
What
sometimes.
is it that you have with you, seed-wise?
Okay, so these are like the newest drops that just came out on the birdseedgenetics.com and also on Neptune. So we just got the seeds up on
right on.
Neptune. So they
And are we gonna put them up on the FCP seed bank?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Of course.
And I'll
Seeds-
grow some.
I want to share seeds with the world and a lot of the creations that I've created. So this is that NL5 cross with our JZK15, which is the chloroform, which is actually, I actually don't have it in here right now, but that is the Jealousy cross with the Kush Cola.
Okay.
So Jealousy Kush Cola made a really unique, like gassier version of the Kush.
Does it go kind of sherbet the way?
It's got that cola cherry terp,
Yeah.
but it's just like a much like, almost like just really gassy is all I
Cool.
can say is, and that's why I kind of went with the chloroform name because I was like, oof, you're just like, it's one of those ones that is very, fumey.
The
Like
train wrecky
fuel.
smell? Or
No, like
That's more of the terpenylene thing that I was talking about earlier.
yeah,
yeah,
it's,
I'm not into the.
yeah, it's more of like the, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Mercy and
yeah, it's like
Oscillion.
a fuel, like a fuel gas that reminds me when I would go to like a hair salon and like when I was a kid and like
Yeah.
be like my mom would get her hair done and they'd all be doing like this chemical
Yeah,
for
yeah.
their hair. It was like I was like,
Hairspray?
how could they handle that? I'm like, holy shit, you know what I
It's
mean?
gnarly, yeah.
It reminds me of that. So
There's like those latexy, rubbery, like biscotti kind of has that.
yeah. So it's very offensive in that side.
So that's the NL cross to that.
Yeah, and these all these two there's 2 of them that have that cross right now. So Kush Cola cake, which
Okay.
was the wedding cake and the Kush Cola. So that's like a more like powdery sugary cherry cola.
Yeah.
Right, and then this is roadkill cookies, which is the GMO with the orange banana Picasso
Oh,
as
that's
the
interesting.
male.
Very
So the orange banana is again like one of the highest washers that we've ever come across, and crossed out with the pink Picasso into that male into the pink Picasso got the orange Picasso. use the orange Picasso male
Close up
into
of
the GMO to make this like
Just
roadkill.
washer,
Yeah,
funky, fruity.
totally.
Very cool.
Yeah, there's some real gas in here.
Yeah.
And then this is one I haven't put out yet called Theta. This is our Beyond Blueberry with the OZ Kush crossed with the GAC. So
Very cool. And the GAC also from Dying Breed.
no, the GAC is I think it was from Hella Seeds.
Oh, like okay, yeah. I think
There was a group of guys
GACs.
that had that GAC
Yeah.
strain, and they were all putting it out at the same time for some
Cool.
reason. Like it seemed like I think it was maybe Massive, another guy,
Yeah.
and Dying Breed. I think also had like GAC variations and stuff like that. So
Very cool. That one, I bet there's some real winners in there.
yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate. Like I've been breeding with very unique strains that I've been able to either create myself or get find and get gifted, or are floating around and they're accessible. So I'm not really just playing with genetics that are random, right? Like I'm picking very specific things for specific reasons because I think that these two types of terpenes are going to work well together. And then there
Well,
are
your
times.
reputation precedes you
Appreciate that. Thank you.
as an appreciator of WonderBrett buds from way back.
That's a very nice compliment, and I really do appreciate that because it's nice to know that all these things that I do, behind closed doors, kind of just I'm not showing them, but I need to get better at filming myself and creating content. But I just find myself like doing something and then I'm halfway through it and I forgot to turn on the camera.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back and recreate the front half and, I'm just going to just finish this off
You
and
just
do that.
described Peter's worst nightmare.
Yeah, so it's one of my faults. Like I just start fiddling with something and then 30 minutes later I kind of have something or I've done something or whatever. And but a lot of times with the breeding process, though, the terpene selections are very deliberate. Like with that Kush Cola, I wasn't going to breed OZK with something like GMO, which has actually ended up turning out to be a pretty decent cross out there, which I've seen.
I think, what do people call it? It's the high fructose corn syrup or whatever?
Something like that.
Yeah.
There is a pheno of it that turned out pretty good, but intuitively, for the way that I normally approach things, I'll try to take something that is like fruity or not so recessively dominant that OZK or a Skittles terp or a sweet terp profile like that has the ability to blend together versus just creating something weird that doesn't really have a great flavor.
Yep.
Or just gets weird and just goes into like this, like it almost defaults into like a citrus flavor that you don't appreciate or like. Like I'll find that you can find all these different phenos into something that are really good, but then there'll be that weird one you're like, that's just gross terpene of some kind of.
I had a Z thing yesterday that like just was like tomato water almost, and I was like, there's wrong selection.
Yeah, totally. You're like, that does not sound good at even like if tomato water doesn't taste good,
I don't know. It's it's citrusy, and there was a little bit of a tangy thing there, but it was tomato water.
Yeah, there's some really random shit out there that does not have like a desirability to me.
Well,
and
sometimes the things that you think would work don't. Like I've never seen just straight lemon tree and Skittles. Makes sense to, even though like on paper that sounds like it would rock.
Lemon is just so recessive and dominant. It's like anything you cross like lemon with is just going to come out with lemon dominance over it, and that's what I'm kind of talking about is like allowing for whatever you're breeding to cross into something where you can still get a representation of both
a dominant terpene.
Yeah, and hopefully you're getting it like a sliding scale this way, like 10% of the father and 90% of the mother, or the other side of the scale, 90% of the father and 10% of the mother, right? Like in
something
flavor.
good.
Yeah, and then there's the 50-50 in the middle. Like this is exact, like the OZK is like, in my opinion, is is literally half OG.
Half and half. Oh, you're saying
Yeah.
the
Like,
dominance is not a good thing. The breed, the half and half is better.
no, I think you want both.
Yeah.
I think you want all. I think there
Whatever
can be,
happens
You could get
is
one where
best.
it's a perfect blend of like the OZK and Clementine. Like that's what
That's
made
really nice.
that's what made our lemon citrine, right? And the lemon OZK pheno. There was two different really great phenos in there, both where like it just had this perfect, really enjoyable lemon tone to it, but also this mandarin orange aspect to it that came from the clementine,
Yeah.
right? And
Which is also hard to get rid of.
yeah, like, but there are phenos of orange and lemon that are more enjoyable than other phenos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
ones that are like really astringent and offensive that aren't that sting the nose or become just too offensive in a dab. They're hard on your throat and they're hard to breathe and they make people kind of sensitive. And then there's ones that you're like, wow, that is a really smooth lemon. You know, like, and I think that's where like the lemon OZK and the lemon citrine were
Yep.
really
Yep.
great selections of unique lemon terps that had lemon and mandarin variations, more orange on this side or more lemon on this side,
Yeah.
and not as much as just in the middle. You know.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, you said you were experimenting with some out of state ventures.
Yeah.
How is that working, and does that equal new Brett stores out of state? Or
No, it's not retail. It's just flower production.
Yeah.
Our first expansion was Michigan, but that just came to an end, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so you guys are actually expanding infrastructure, not just IP.
No, we work with cultivations that, like, typically what ends up happening is cultivations in other states, they get set up early, they had the money and the financing. So a lot of the out-of-state situations end up being where it's a really good time for the first people that get on the scene quickly. They can produce whatever type of product and it'll do well because it's a very like limited quantity, right?
And there's a
Yeah.
ton of excitement when a new market opens up.
Yeah, and then competition comes in, and you need kind of a higher level of expertise to stand out, and to make sense of when prices start to come down. You need to be able to produce higher yields with higher quality to be competitive. So that's typically when grows will reach out to us, and or partnerships will start to happen when the markets are getting tougher. We've never been really lucky enough to get licenses out of state or have enough money to go and build $10 million in an emerging market, right? Like,
Well,
Well, how are
with the deals that you have, are you also, I guess, are like prescribed SOPs, or are they running your genetics their way?
no, they know that they want our help,
Yeah.
and it's been very good in that sense. Like when it was Michigan and in Arizona, the teams that were there that were put together, we went there and showed them our SOPs, how we do things.
That makes sense.
Weekly phone calls. If there's a question about this, call us. We're not. We've been doing it for a long time, so we know how things should work, right? And when you go somewhere that doesn't really have the same level of experience, they're still figuring it out, and it's normally not like they're super far off. It's just like a few tweaks here in this phase, and a few tweaks here in this
learning
phase.
curve.
Everybody's got lights and air conditioners and dehues and plants that are growing and got fertigation going, but it's just about how you use every one of those things. How you're running your environmental, how you're using your lighting, and how you're keeping your plant health. The products that you're using, are they not necessary or are they necessary? And some people have just overcomplicated it.
What kind of lighting do you like?
I like a combination of the double-ended and the LED together in a room, a checkerboard.
The checkerboard. Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. And do you notice there being like weaker spots in the room because of that?
No, it ends up kind of being a nice throw because on a checkerboard, you're getting like this. Yeah, you're getting everything like overlapping in different places, and you get a pretty even lighting in that sense.
Do you have more lights then per square foot? checkerboarding, or is it
No,
about
no,
the same?
it's about the same, like
Yeah.
every 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to me that always gave us like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I think LED veg lights are superior to bulbs, so we use LED lighting in veg, and when you're transitioning from LED to your bloom room, you want LED in your bloom room so you don't have this transitional shock. Where that's where a lot of people, like, their plants go from being like healthy in veg, and they go to their bloom room, and the environment's different, the lighting's different, and everything kind of just responds in a negative way until it acclimates to that new environment. Then it starts to grow again properly. But
So you're saying keep the environments the same in each
Yeah,
stage of growth?
yeah, when you're transitioning from one room to the next, you should try to keep
Yeah.
it similar from the transition.
Yeah.
Don't go from 300 ppfd in veg to 1,000 ppfd in bloom and not expect the plants to be shocked. You know,
Yeah.
like humidity, light. You know, the air conditioning, the temperatures, they should be relatively similar going from your veg space to your bloom space.
Yeah, sounds logical.
Yeah.
At a certain scale, is there like math on having a veg in a bloom room versus just having stuff go through the whole process in a single room?
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's, if you doing like drop flip, if you're able to transition with moving your plants into bloom, right, and get 6 harvests or maybe even 7 harvests a year out of that one room, depending on a genetic. Some genetics, like Skittles, are like 49 days to me, you know, and like that allows you to get, you know,
To get your 7 is woof, but yeah.
you can do it. But certain strains, though, that you got to take 56, 63 days, 65 days, you know, maybe 67. Like, that's about the extent of the length that we'll let it go, because just economically it messes with your schedule around the whole building and keeping the flow proper.
Yeah.
Well, and also just like square footage utilization, you know, you can have plants more compact in veg, and then you move them into your flower room where your trays are a little more spaced out. And,
Yeah, totally.
but I think,
That's when they need more space.
yeah,
They're
this has
about to
been
get
an
bigger.
amazing conversation.
Yeah,
I
thanks
think
for coming down, Brett.
Yeah,
Really.
could probably talk for a long time, but it would make sense to wrap it up. But yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Very high right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we smoked
It
a lot
was
of joints.
so unpleasant having to sample all of the herb. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. No, that was great.
Right on.
And
That was awesome.
Okay.
Yes. When you wake up and you feel like you need a little up, when you're down and out and you need to get a little higher, if you feel like you need a blessing and you feel a little high today, welcome to the church of Cali High. Cali High. Cali High. Yo!
You've been listening to Cali High episode 69, Brett in the Backyard, with Brett Feldman of WonderBrett. I'm your host, Cenzo Nico, and we'd like to thank Brett for coming down to the backyard. Our special guest hosts today were Peter Cervieri and Gabe from the Future Cannabis Project. Brett and WonderBrett can be found on Instagram at WonderBrett_ and at Brett of WonderBrett. On the web at www.wonderbrett.com. The Future Cannabis Project can be found on Instagram at Budgasm and at Future Cannabis Project. On YouTube at FCP1 and at FCP2. Cali High's theme, written and recorded by Vince Nicoletti, Jordan Webb, and Namir Blade. Cali High podcast and theme are copywritten, and the logo is trademarked. Please donate to Cali High at patreon.com/CaliHighLA. Please like, follow, and subscribe to Cali High on YouTube at Cali High 8901. Email us with any questions to CaliHighPodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram at Cali High LA, on most podcast platforms in audio. Cali High is a Cenzo Nico production. Stay safe and be blessed. Okay, we're going on that. We going here, we going everywhere else?
We're going everywhere else. You
Okay.
just gotta stand here, turn, and do the clap.
This is Cenzo,
Just
and
do the.
Peter, and the clap. And of course, Brett.
There we go.
All right.
All right,
That might
check.
be edited out, but
I think that's a keeper.
I think it is too, right?
That was one of your best claps, Cenzo.
I could have done better, but I mean, for the moment, I'll accept it.